Hey, what's going on, guys? Donkey here, and we're going to take on a little bit of Ashen. So I've actually played, and I'll show you, about 7 hours. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Played about 7 hours of the game, and thought I would start over with the beginning and show you all a little bit more about the game, kind of explain some of the things that aren't generally explained in the game. So I'm gonna let it. It's gonna let it load up, but let me back out of here. Like you can save multiple builds to it. So I didn't want to go in 7 hours and someone go, "Oh my God, what the hell is going on?" 7 hours into the game. So I thought we'd start fresh and kind of take us through the early stages, which is kind of cool. It's a very cool game. Recommended for those that enjoy the Dark Souls genre of games. It reminds me a lot of a Dark Souls-ish mixed with Absolver, the art style of Absolver. So, going back in, let's try this again. I hit continue and I didn't want to do that. So, like, if you go to load, you can see like there are several different settings. So, 7 hours and 6 minutes into my original game. So, let's hit new game. Go through. There's real basic builds. I mean, obviously, Dark Souls will have more set styles for different types of builds because you have your knight, your warrior, so on and so forth. With this, you get to choose between male and female. My other build's male, so I'm going to choose female on this one. And then this has basic hairstyles. Each of the characters, they really don't have a face to them. Obviously, it reminds me again a lot of the Absolver game style. So let's see, for our female build, and like I said, we're going to go through the very beginning, the early stage of this, just kind of explain some things. Because there are some things even 7 hours in that you're kind of lost on, and it's just like, okay, what's going on here? Not a ton of tutorial information pertaining to the game. So what do we want to do? This one actually looks pretty good for a hairstyle for a female. Let's see. Go bald. No, I don't think I want a bald chick. Yeah, and I think that's the one I used for my male character. Actually, the ponytail looks kind of legit. We're not doing pigtails. That would be just too funny. All right, let's go with the ponytail, the deer tail style. That was that. Facial hair. Oh, we can have a chick with some facial hair. There we go. And give her a beard. Yeah, that's not happening. Hair color. I want to go. Can we go white? I like white. Let's go white. Skin color. Let's lighten her up a little bit. Give her maybe a little bit of color. Sure, it's dark. I don't remember it being dark before. Interesting. Give her a little bit of a tan. How about that? That looks good. So let's accept it. So hopefully this doesn't override my other game. If it does, I'm going to be pretty freaking pissed. Pretty pissed. 'Cause 7 hours in, it's pretty good little 7 hours. But I'll let it go through the intro, let you guys check that out. And I'll get into some explaining.
Among the stars, the Ashen fly. Beneath, the 9 realms move among the Tree of Worlds' many branches. Proudly standing upon the darkness, its roots delving into caverns where light will never venture. It was when a single great Ashen flew down to rest upon her boughs that the light woke among the realms. After eons, the great Ashen grew weak with age and fell from the Tree of Worlds, resting upon the plains of darkness, drawing what few breaths remained. In the throes of death, the light dimmed, and the Ashen's final 3 breaths became the 3 golden ages of light. The first age saw 3 creatures of the dark plains rise above all others. The Elder Dark fed upon the light and thrived. The second marked the coming of the Listener Matriarchs, Titans who revered the light. The third breath was the Age of Man, Geffin's children. When the final breath ended, there would be a time of darkness. In that black age, the cities of man fell into ruin, toppled by war and emptied by pestilence and famine. Proud Lathyrus drowned beneath the ash. From dust to flesh, from darkness to radiance. Soon the Ashen will be reborn from the ruins of its old body, and a new age of light will begin. I served the Ashen long ago, a guardian to its waning light, even though it broke me with its brilliance. Now, look to the mountain peak, for that is where fresh hope blooms. The Ashen is reborn. Behold, the first glimmer of the light that will sweep the darkness from these plains.
Okay, so basically you start out at this campfire and got to work our way forward. One of the things I do want to point out is that in the very early stages, and it took me about 7 hours, but I do like to explore the game, but about 7 hours before you actually find the storage container to where you can store all of your loot that you pick up. This is pretty critical because if you're the type of player that I am and you like going through the game and collecting pretty much anything and everything, it's not, this is what you have to deal with. You have to deal with these slots here. So with the 15 slots, and so you have to really manage that, and that's for both items, armor, weapons, and then you have these slots up here that you can apply your, it's like a quick slot too. So the issue with that is, again, it took me about 7 hours before I was actually able to find a storage container. That storage container is not in your quote-unquote bonfire area, which there are bonfires in the game, or they're not called bonfires per se, but they act like bonfires if you're familiar with Dark Souls. So when you progress through the game's story, and sub-missions, side missions are very important, you start upgrading your village. And as you get to approximately the 3rd area in the game, a storage container will eventually show up inside your village area, and that's where you can store your items. So just be cognizant of the fact that you're going to have to manage this area through here until you get to that point. And I believe that was after the 2nd boss in the game. So if you're finding a lot of loot, if you're finding a lot of things in the game, you may have to drop some of those in order to obviously manage this properly. And then as you progress, you know, it's a lot like Dark Souls in many ways. You have different people that you will gain over time that will join your village, and they will provide different services for you, crafting, upgrades, things of that nature.
Soft rabbit, warm rabbit, fur and bucket hide.
Let me do this. My blinds are open and it's really killing the glare on the TV, so it's kind of hard for me to see. It's extremely dark in this area. Let me shut that real quick so I can see what's going on. All right. And I don't think there's anything else. Okay, so that's that way. You definitely want to search around.
The cliffs ahead should...
And the bone spear is really good. Like, you can, if you use your D-pad, you can actually change like your weapons, and then later on you can use the left on your D-pad. So right on your D-pad, left on your D-pad. If I remember correctly, it's very similar to Dark Souls, which is up and down. That works very similar in that fashion. I don't remember my game starting out in the dark, which is interesting. And it could have been, it's been a while. I will say it is hard to see when you're in the dark. You have a heavy and a light, so this is your light weapon, this is your heavy weapon. Obviously we don't have any heavies, because if we did, you click on it, it would highlight those, which is a really nice little feature. You see, you can swap this out, so we have the hatchet. You can see that the hatchet, while nice, it's not as powerful as the spiked club. I've been using the spiked club primarily through the majority of my gameplay. So right trigger is a heavy hit. Right button is our shield. Equip that. Right button is your light hit. So light and then heavy. And then these items right here, just very important to pick these things up. It's like picking up souls, Dark Souls, if you will. They can contain anything from health to health upgrades to stamina increases, weapons, armor. It's not really evident as to what they are when you get to them, but definitely make sure to pick those up, and then you can actually open your inventory, go in and look, see, like this will do health, these do stamina regeneration. It kind of tells you exactly what they do in the description below. The other thing here, and we'll get into like this later as you get into your village, you have your armor, you have these right here act as like basically souls. You use this to spend for upgrades, you use it to buy things, you also use it to increase, like you will get, I forget what it's called, but in Dark Souls you have your flask. There is that in this game as well, and you use that to increase the quantity and or the potency of that quote-unquote flask. But then the name of this game is obviously search, look everywhere. I mean, there's stuff all over the place in the game. And you just want to make sure to get those items. I don't recall going down here. And you can also get help from a character if you have a character with you. Maybe I shouldn't have went there because I can't get back up. All right. So that was a no-go. if you have a higher level, grab this. Take that. Then you can also assign these to quick slots. See, like here, that goes there. You can add this, which goes there. You can add that up there, so that now that's on. Then see, now you see how we have a spear. You can actually throw the spear by holding down your right trigger, or you can use it as a spear to jab with. I highly recommend using this if you have them early game. It's nice to use, and it's also very powerful. All right.
Them shadows, they's all. Walking with shadows, you are. Round, round, round the fires, round, round, round. 1 and 2 stand with a line. Get away with you.
Yeah, they're kind of pissed off because I put out their fire. All right, so this is Jokul. This is Jokul. He's waiting on us.
There are those that thrive in perpetual night and would extinguish these fledgling rays. We must find the Ashen and protect it from the Elder Dark.
And I did try this game, as I said earlier, I'm playing it on the X. I did try it on my regular Xbox, my launch Xbox. I do not have an S, so I don't know how it performs on that one. I can say that my X performs fine. It's great. I don't have any lag or anything that's noticeable. But the regular launch Xboxes do suffer from lag. And hopefully they'll release a patch for that, because I would like for those that can't afford an X to have the ability to be able to play this game. And you can play it. It's just that there is a noticeable lag to it as you're walking through the area. And for some, it may be bothersome. I personally didn't care for it, didn't like it. But you need to be aware of that.
What a sight! Our world once more bathed in ashen light. You have felt the power of the Ashen and survived. We will need that strength of yours. The Ashen is still a sleeping child, vulnerable. We must wake it from its slumber. Before we begin our journey, we must bind your spirit to a ritual stone. If misadventure takes you, the stone will act as a beacon from beyond death's veil.
So bonfires in this
There's
game
a
are called
stone
ritual
nearby,
stones.
in the district called Vagrant's Rest. But I will need my hammer and spark to awaken it. You must find them.
And thus you were given your first quest. Now, of course, I kind of went off and did my own thing like I generally do in games and go explore. But at this point in the game, if you're not into Dark Souls and don't understand the concept of those games, I would highly recommend just sticking to the main mission, because you can die very easily wandering off. That's not to say don't do it, because you can find some good loot and stuff like that, which is probably why I had some issues with my inventory management, because I have a tendency to wander off and go looking for stuff, probably getting into areas that you shouldn't. But in any case, I would say stick to the main story, at least until you get to your first bonfire area, if you will. And I'm just going to refer to it as bonfire because that's just what I know them as from the Dark Souls standpoint. But the one thing I do like about this game, and you may not like it, I do love the art style. I think it's really neat. I do love the color palette. It definitely provides you with that feeling of a world that's cold. I don't know. It's a really, to me, it's just a really different take on a game. There's a lot of similarities here. I mean, but it's also different. So here's our first real battle. You can see, you can just stand back if you want, let him take care of him. or I was a little late, you can do it yourself. The Jokel and other characters that you attain through the game will help you out. And that's really nice. Now, what I've found is that while they do help, sometimes they drop in and out of missions with no apparent reason. I've had them follow me through up into a certain point and then they'll disappear. I've had them stay in the boss fights. I've had them disappear like when the boss fights come around for whatever reason. And just throughout the world they will disappear. And sometimes if you're close to another mission that involves a different character, they'll drop out and let that character assume. So there's a throw. They'll let that character assume taking over for them because it is a mission for them. I'm going to go back to my hatchet. But I did, like I said, I did a lot of exploring in the game. And you have a shield bash that you can use. And you do have a stamina bar, which is in your upper left corner. You got to pay attention to that. If you run out of stamina, then so it's asking me to do a heavy attack. Remember this from before. That's weird. Maybe I ignored half these tips because I was just so familiar with playing the Souls Bloodborne games. So there's another item you can get that if you you can't go across. That's another thing I want to bring up is water. Be leery of water. My first death in this game, after playing it, I was probably in it a couple of hours, and then I died due to drowning. So I feel like the game is a little bit more lenient than a Dark Souls game. Provides a little bit more fun in that regard. It's not as brutal, but it can be. Here's my heavy. So this right here will essentially be our village, and this right here will be that quote-unquote bonfire, if you will. So let's open up our mini map, and you can tell there are two places that we have to go to. You can, like I said, is zoomed in. It's to the left, and there was another one that we haven't went to that was further back. So we're going to go ahead and do the one on the bottom down here. I want to get the village opened up at least first and kind of explain a little bit about that aspect of it. So let's go into our inventory. Yeah, see, it's highlighting, which again is really nice. The heavy. Couldn't hit, it was on a slope. Okay, so it looks like it's up there. That's where we need to go. After being into the game from my first 7 hours, it's kind of hard to remember what I've done at the very beginning, but we're going to head back up here and see if we can at least get to these early stages. But again, storage was one of my biggest issues, and for those that just aren't aware, you do not have a storage container until you are into the game sometime. So again, inventory management is key. I guess we're going back the other way. And I'm dead. And pay attention to my health. And of course they can revive you. It was up. I may have, yeah, I think it's up here. There it is, which is highlighted by the yellow and gold. I'm so used to my main character just being stronger. Damn. That was a one shot. Ouch. And that's what happens when you die. Which is actually cool. But I mean, this will, I'll show you guys this too. And if y'all want to see more of the game, you just got to let me know, and then I will progress through the story for you. Or y'all can join in and watch my other 7 hours into that one, that gameplay. So it looks like we start back out at the beginning. Hold on. So one over here. No, we only have that one left that we need to get to, but then we have our souls that we need to pick up. You can upgrade it to where stamina drains less, which is obviously important. Just like Dark Souls, it'll start you back out again, and then you have to progress your way through. I'm going to change that. I am just, you know, after using that axe, I'm just not a big fan of it. This club works out really well. As you can tell. So first things first on the agenda, let's go back. Let's grab my my souls. You can do like the whole running through and just, and you can see where it's highlighted purple. You need to run back and grab that. So you can just run through and keep running and run back. You don't have to stick around. If your helper, or in this case Jokel, dies, they'll respawn. You don't lose them. It's not permadeath. This is the other right here. So you gotta kill this guy. That hurt. Alright, so now we can go back to where we originally started, which is not... Can we go this way? No. We gotta go up. So it's like we basically just took over their little village area, and that's what we're about to do, so... So he's already here, so let's go over to him and talk to him.
Touch the spark to the
I've
ritual
not kept
stone.
it. I don't know what happens
Bind
if you do,
your
but you
spirit
give him the
to
hammer.
this place.
And then you interact here. This is your first bonfire. Or whatever the hell they call it. So then you can see you have two of these characters that are highlighted. You have Helm, you have Helm. He'll end up being, Joker will end up being like side quests for you. He's going to be your main mission guy. And then you can see those when you go to your main journeys and then your side quests. So yes, it's Joker. So I highly recommend doing the side quest. If you can do the side quest first, it's probably a good idea because, again, it adds people to your town, your village, and then from that point, you can do more side quests for them if they ask for certain materials. You can do those, and then normally they'll give you items for doing this fetch quest and provide an area for upgrades, which I feel like are vital to the game. And it'll help you with your main story quest. So this is going to be your first village. As you can see, I mean, it's pretty empty right now. As you progress through the story, this area will start to be built, and it will get bigger, and you'll see people working, which is really cool. I found that really neat. But right now, it's just there's not a whole lot going on. You'll have over in this area, you'll see later on, Jokel will you provide side quests for him. It'll give you the ability to buy like more flasks. You'll start out with 3. We don't have any yet, and that'll be in your first slot, I believe. I think it's either here or here. I'm not sure which. And you can upgrade that, and then obviously buy more. And then, of course, as you do main quests for your main character, he actually gives you the ability to forge, and that's important in the game as well. And then, again, pick up more characters, do the side quests. It's kind of a rinse and repeat. You basically get the idea of how that would work. And then, of course, you can upgrade in the center, and I can't highlight it, but basically that's like your core, and you can upgrade that as well. You can find different armor through the world. You can upgrade. Actually, I haven't found the ability to upgrade armor yet, but I'm sure that's to come. Again, I'm only 7 hours into the game. But one of the biggest things, and the reason why I wanted to make this video is, over in this area here, you will eventually get to the point after, like I said, visiting the second boss in the third area in the game. A chest will pop up over here, and that's where you're going to be able to do your inventory management. So just keep that in mind. You got 15 slots to deal with, predicated on how fast you go through the game. You may get this sooner than the 7 hours it took me. It may be a lot less than that. It really depends on your game style, but you got to deal with inventory management. So anyway, I think we're going to go ahead and stop this video here. I just wanted to show just a brief intro of the game, kind of what it looks like, what it is. I wanted to talk about my experiences so far with it. As you can tell, there's brief pop into it. But overall, it's a pretty cool world. I've enjoyed it. It's kept my attention. So if you like Dark Souls, you like that type of game, might check this one out. Might be one that will get you through to that next big game. So until next time, you guys, peace out.